Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3729b, and today's date is September 11th, 2025, and the title of the episode is Deep State Obama Set the Narrative for a Civil War, Shot Heard Around the World, United, Not Divided. Let's talk about our health. A 2025 survey found that over half of U.S. adults are concerned about how their skin is aging, and 40% fixate on random wrinkles or dark spots. If that sounds like you're not alone, more and more people are noticing visible changes in their skin far earlier than expected. This is why I use my secret anti-aging weapon, and I'm obsessed with the changes I've noticed in my skin. It provides my skin with 5 must-have types of premium collagen needed to reduce wrinkles. Since taking it, I've experienced smoother skin, more elasticity, fewer fine lines, and more youthful glow. Plus, it mixes smoothly with my morning coffee or tea with no taste or clumps. Be sure to grab a bag of Ageless Multi-Collagen now while it's 51% off only at healthwithx22.com and help take years off the clock. Plus, by ordering now, you're also guaranteed to get free VIP live health and fitness coaching for life, a free ebook titled The 14 Foods for Amazing Skin, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free shipping. Once again, that website is healthwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, when we start to look at what they have done with the murder or the assassination of Charlie Kirk, you can see their entire mission was not to have a mass shooting, but their target was Charlie Kirk. Think about it. The audience was filled with students, conservative students, who were all for Charlie Kirk. Now, yes, I know dispersed throughout this, there might have been those liberals that were there, that were listening, who wanted to ask a question. But I would say the majority of these students, they are rooting for Charlie Kirk. And if the deep state players wanted to take out conservatives, they could have done it very, very easily. Because think about where they were. This person was located on the rooftop. They would be able to just fire willy-nilly and just hit as many conservatives as possible if they actually wanted a mass shooting. So this shows us that what they really wanted to do was very, very specific. They wanted to assassinate Charlie Kirk. That was the only target. First of all, the individual allegedly used a bolt-action rifle. They're saying it's a Mauser. And you could see that this was done, and actually the bolt-action rifles, they're very well made, and they are very, very precise when you fire them, especially if you have a scope. Now, the FBI came out with pictures of the individual, and there's also information that the individual decided to throw the rifle into the woods, which is kind of very, very strange. Why would you do that? Why would you get rid of the rifle? You could have left it on the roof. That would have been easier. Why would you actually throw it into the woods? And I think they wrapped it up in burlap or something like that and actually have it there. So the question is, was this the actual weapon that was used? It might have been the same type of weapon, but was this the weapon that was actually fired on Charlie Kirk? And I do believe what they did was they wanted the FBI, the police, to find this weapon because what was written on the bullets, or maybe on the weapon itself, something about trans lives matter. So that brought in the trans life narrative. And I do believe that's why the rifle was left behind. Just like if you really think about it, it's almost like 9/11. Well, today is 9/11. And what happened during 9/11? All of a sudden, planes allegedly hit the World Trade Center. And all of a sudden, the World Trade Center came down. And lo and behold, on the ground, they found the passports of those individuals that were flying the planes. They weren't damaged. They weren't burned. They were in pristine condition. Now think about the deep state players. They wanted everyone to understand and know who was responsible for the downing of the towers. Why? Because without that, the people wouldn't accept what they wanted to do. They wanted to go into the Middle East. They wanted to go into Afghanistan. Think about what happened here. If they're trying to start a civil war and you're trying to get people against each other, remember, the deep state players loves us to be divided. If you're trying to start something and you had this individual take out Charlie Kirk, how would you know who's responsible for it? Unless you leave a calling card. And I do believe that weapon that was thrown into the woods was the calling card. And I do believe this was done on purpose. Now, I don't know if that's actually the gun that was used. It might be a similar gun, or maybe it was the gun that was used. But again, they left it behind for a reason, because that reason was what was written on the bullets or on the gun itself. And that was going to give you who was responsible for all of this. Otherwise, you wouldn't know. And I do believe Obama already knew what the motive was. And it's very interesting. In his post on X, he didn't say our prayers or with Charlie Kirk and his families on his first sentence. His first sentence was, we don't know what the motive is yet. Basically, what he's telling you, we know what the motive is yet. You're going to find out. Why? Because we want a civil war in this country. We want the conservatives to get angry. We want them to take to the streets. We want a clash between the trans community, Antifa, and anyone else they can bring in with the conservatives. I do believe this is their entire mission. Yes, Charlie Kirk was a very outspoken person. He debated. He told the truth. He got people into the conversation. And this is what our founding fathers fought against. They wanted people to have that freedom to debate. Now, he's been doing this for a very, very long time. It's not like he started yesterday and they didn't like what he was saying. He was doing it for a very long time. And if you were going to start a civil war, if you were going to put two sides against each other, who do you choose? You need someone where the world knows who he is. Now, he created a very, very big organization called Turning Point. There's Turning Point UK, Turning Point in this country. He's actually been to other countries debating the liberals, basically. So the world knew who he was. He had a very, very big following. And what was he doing? He was reversing everything the deep state players were trying to do. He was reversing the brainwashing in colleges. Charlie would go to every single college and he would debate. Now, his crowds were small in the very, very beginning, but they started to grow bigger and bigger and bigger as time went on. And what was he doing? He was reversing the brainwashing in college. And he got more and more people on his side, more and more people saying, yeah, this is common sense. What are we doing here? And if you notice, from the time he started to now, the liberals, they were becoming the very, very small minority in his crowds, and the conservatives were becoming the majority. And you could see the deep state players, they had to stop this. Now, again, they did this with MLK. They did this with RFK. They did this with pretty much everybody who was against their narrative. So think about why they had to do this right now and why they chose Charlie Kirk. Because again, who else would you choose? Who's big enough and who has been debating the trans people? It's been Charlie. Yes, there's other people that have been talking and doing other things, but he does it front and center right at the college level. And think about this. Who makes up Antifa? Trans people. So think about what is happening right now. Think about what they're really trying to do. Now, this is not going to work out the way they think it's going to work out. You see, I don't think they understand the American people. I don't think they ever did. And we're not like them. We don't take to the streets. We don't burn our own neighborhoods. We don't loot our own businesses. We don't hurt the people in our towns. We don't go to other towns and do this. That's not how Americans think. You see, criminals think that way. Terrorists think that way. The D's think that way. The fake news thinks that way. They really don't understand America. And this has been their problem from the very, very beginning. They don't understand us. So their mission right now, their entire agenda is not going to work. It's going to fail every step of the way. And what's very interesting is that while all this is playing out on 9/11, all of a sudden there was a bomb threat at DNC headquarters in D.C. Now think about this for a second. Doesn't Trump have the National Guard there? Hasn't he been cleaning up crime and they decided to stage a bomb threat to say, hey, look what's happening right now. The MAGA people are coming after us. I mean, think about what they're trying to do at this point. If you notice, there's no bomb threat on the Republican National Convention. Only the DNC headquarters, not the RNC headquarters. Because they're trying to build this narrative, but it's not going to work. The people are not going along with this. And you can see the fake news. They're basically applauding the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And there's a lot of individuals, doctors, there's news reporters, there's lawyers, there's many other people that are celebrating this. And some of these people are getting fired right now. And this should tell you quite a bit. MSNBC, they're trying to figure out a way how to explain all this. Because once again, they don't want to report on that, hey, this person might be in line with the trans people. This person might be a liberal. Remember, they started off saying, hey, this was a Trump supporter who was shooting his gun off at a rally, in a gun-controlled college campus. That doesn't even make any sense. But Stormers Arrive put this out and said, despicable MSNBC is scrambling to tell their audience that political violence is not just a liberal thing. They just compared January 6th and the hammer attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We're seeing this from extremists on both sides of this. It's not just coming from one side. This is BS. A, Stormers Arrive said, January 6th was a fake setup by the Democrats and Americans were protesting a stolen election. B, Paul Pelosi was attacked by a deranged liberal. Unbelievable. These people are truly the enemy of the people, and they are. And remember, January 6th was also staged by the liberals, by the deep state players. It's always staged by the deep state players. Will never see his children grow, learn, graduate, get married, have children, and live their lives. Just like Irina, she'll never find a husband. She will never have children. She'll never watch them grow. So nobody deserves any of this. Even your worst enemy doesn't deserve it. They might bring it on for themselves. They might be responsible for it because they did harm to someone else. And at that point, they're the ones who decided on this. So that's why they made the decision. And then there's consequences to that. But no one who doesn't do anything to anyone, no one deserves it. And it reminds me of like when women get raped, like, oh, look, she wore a short skirt, so she deserved it. No, that's ridiculous. But this is what these people tried to do. MSNBC, they tried to apologize for what happened here. Statement from MSNBC President Rebecca Cutler. During our breaking news coverage of the shooting of Charlie Kirk, Matthew Dodd made comments that were inappropriate, insensitive, and unacceptable. We apologize for the statement, as has he. There is no place for violence in America, political or otherwise. And that individual has been fired. So that individual has been fired from MSNBC, but he was actually speaking his truth. He truly believed that Charlie Kirk deserved this. And think about all the other people. All the other people are out there doing the same exact thing. Libs at TikTok put this out and said, Assistant Dean of Students at MTSU has been fired effectively immediately following vile comments celebrating Charlie's death. And this goes on and on and on. There's so many people that are in these professional positions like doctors, nurses. They're all celebrating this. Can you imagine going in there saying, hey, listen, I voted for Trump. What would they kill you during an operation? Maybe. I mean, think about how crazy these people are. I mean, look at the representatives in Congress. And this is how you know they're truly evil people. Someone was just assassinated. A human being was just assassinated. And they wanted to take a moment of silence and say a prayer. And the D's booed. Ronnie Jackson said, this is one of the most disgusting and evil things that I've ever seen. Just before we learned Charlie had passed, we tried to lead a prayer on the House floor, praying for his recovery after he was tragically shot. The Democrats started booing and yelling at us. It was absolutely disgusting. Their rhetoric caused this, and their actions today show they have no remorse because they are the true enemy of the people. They hate the American people. I mean, think about it. They won't say a prayer. They won't have a moment of silence for an assassination of Charlie Kirk. But they will get on one knee and pray to a convicted felon. 8 minutes. This is what the D's did for George Floyd. They had parades for a convicted felon. These are the people they worship. Now, when you start to take a look at the cities and you start to say, wow, why are there so many criminals? Why are there so many illegals? Because criminals work with criminals. These individuals, they want the American people to die. And I think this shows it perfectly. I mean, there's no way to explain what they have just done except they hate the American people and they don't want the American people to live. I mean, when you look at the EU Parliament denies a minute's silence to remember Charlie Kirk. And conservatives still stand to honor him. So basically, they're part of the problem. These are the people who are part of the criminal syndicate. These are the people that want depopulation. These are the people that want to destroy the Constitution of this country. These are the people that want to bring us to war. And you can see that everything that was done right now, the trans people, what are they doing? They are now celebrating, and they're actually saying maybe we should do this to other individuals. Jennifer put this out and said, after Charlie Kirk on the Sky app, there are people asking for the next person to be targeted. These include J.K. Rowling, Matt Walsh, Trump, Ben Shapiro, Libs of TikTok, Elon Musk, and Andy Ngo. And I'm sure there's many, many others. And now it seems like Secret Service now is going to they're going to up security for Trump because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. Douglas Mackey put this out and said, take a close look at many of the groups we see overrepresented in celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. Teachers, healthcare professionals, government workers. These are not radical, blue-haired freaks. They are the highly indoctrinated Democrat rank and file. Yes, they have been brainwashed for a very long time. And to break the brainwashing is very, very difficult. There's other individuals that are D's, they're moderates, and they're starting to wake up. They're starting to see that, wait a minute, you guys truly want other people to die? This makes no sense whatsoever. This was a person. He had a family. He had little children. His children will never, ever know their father. And those D's who are family oriented, they're starting to realize what's going on, and they're losing these people every step of the way. But again, at this point in time, we know the D's, they don't really care. Remember, criminals, they fight to the very end. It's almost like a criminal where they're in a car chase and police are chasing after them. The criminal crashes. They don't get out and hold up their hands and say, crap, I give. They pull out their weapon, they start shooting, and they start running down the street if they can. And the police, most of the time, have to do what? They have to shoot the person and bring them down. The criminals in this country, they're the same exact way. They're not just going to give because evidence is pouring out against them. They're going to fight back with everything that they have. They're going to try to start a civil war. They're going to try to start a real war with nuclear weapons. They're going to try to do all these things. When I say we're still at war, we are still at war. You're fighting a criminal force. We're not through with this yet. They're going to fight to the very end. And you can see this is exactly what they're doing. They just showed us what their true intentions really are. And to distract and to make it look like MAGA is coming after them, because this is what they're doing, because they're trying to create division. All of a sudden, there was a bomb scare at the Democratic National Committee in Washington. Now, remember, Trump has the National Guard all over the place. And crime is way, way down. And all of a sudden, there's a bomb scare there. And it turns out it's pretty much nothing. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Assistant AG Harmeet Dillon, she is now telling her staff to get a concealed carry permit because there are crazies on the street. There's going to be copycat people. They're pushing division, and you need to protect yourself. I think this should be every single person in this country. Actually, in Florida, it looks like the court ruled that now you can actually carry your weapon openly. Now, I personally don't like carrying a weapon openly because it shows you have a weapon, and some people that don't have a safety to block the gun being lifted, someone can come up right behind you and lift the gun. I like a concealed carry. This way, nobody needs to know that you have a weapon or anything like that. But it has been ruled that you can carry openly. Now, of course, the Second Amendment tells us we're allowed to do this. We are allowed to bear arms, carry any weapon. It doesn't say bear only in the streets concealed. It doesn't say you can't go to church and carry a weapon. It doesn't say you can only carry in these locations. The founding fathers knew that you had the right to carry that, just like the First Amendment. You have a right to speak freely pretty much anywhere. You don't need a permit. You don't need to pay. You don't need a little section that says this is your free speech area, because really that's what they're doing with the Second Amendment. Now, a lot of people, they were looking at Charlie Kirk and they saw some strange things. They saw like his ring move from finger to finger. They saw his shirt pop up. Now, I do believe the shooter shot Charlie and he was really probably not aiming for the neck. That's a very hard target. Most likely, they were trying to shoot center mass or for the head. I think what happened is the bullet hit the collarbone, bounced off of that, and then hit him in the neck. And that's what it looks like to me. His ring, where people are saying, oh, it's switch fingers, so this has to be fake. This can't be real. No, mystery is solved. MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said, I think we can put the ring thing to rest now. The ring on Charlie's finger was something called a hinge ring that opens. This can be seen at other events he's had. The ring did not switch fingers. It merely opened up on impact, and it simply decoupled from his ring finger. I watched it many times, and you can actually see it decouple frame by frame, and that's exactly what happened. So, no, there was no AI. This is not a psyop or anything like that. No, this person actually shot. And you know what's interesting? We've all heard the studies. Testosterone in young men is drastically decreasing every decade. One major study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism found a healthy 22-year-old in 2000 had double the testosterone of a 22-year-old in 2025. So if you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, you might want to listen up. Meet Mars, the wellness company, a doctor-formulated nutraceutical designed to restore vitality without synthetic hormones or stimulants. Mars helps men to naturally increase testosterone, enhance circulation, and improve strength, focus, and sexual performance with tongue cat, ally, tribulus, horny goat weed. Yes, it's really called this, and zinc. This isn't about masculinity. It's about health. Low testosterone affects energy, motivation, fertility, muscle mass, mood, and future generations. If you're looking for a boost, Mars will have you feeling like you're on another planet. Head to twc.health/X22 and use code X22 to get 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/X22 and use code X22 to get 10% off and level up your performance today, or just click the link in the description. Charlie, I do believe when it hit his shirt, it made his shirt move. I think it hit his collarbone, and the bullet then deflected and hit his neck. And I think that's what we're seeing right there. Now, the question is this a professional assassin? Now, once again, this was about 142 yards. That's the distance they're pretty much saying it was. Now, 142 yards, that's not that difficult to actually hit a target, but you do need some training. You just can't go into the store and say, listen, I would like a bolt action rifle with a scope, and I'll bring it the next day over to the roof and I'll just fire it, and my first shot will be bullseye. I hit Charlie Kirk. Basically, whoever did this needed some training. They needed to calibrate their scope at the distance they were going to be at, to make sure that they were on target. So I don't believe it was someone who was a professional, but someone who actually trained for this moment. That's what it's starting to look like. So basically, I don't think the shot was actually at the neck, because I think it was center mass, or maybe the head. These are bigger targets, and I think it would be a lot easier to hit those targets. I just think it just so happened to bounce off and hit the neck. So this is very, very interesting. And the other thing that we could see is that he had a clear line of sight to Charlie Kirk. Now, there are people that are saying and looking at a video of this guy in a white hat. This guy was given signals to maybe the shooter. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. It's very odd that he's touching his hat, then touching his ear, holding up the phone. And that seems kind of odd right there. And they had to wait until Charlie Kirk wasn't moving. He's actually, if you look at Charlie Kirk, he fidgets a lot. He plays with his ring. He plays with a bottle top. He moves back and forth to pick up the microphone. He sets it down. Sometimes he doesn't hold it all the time. So if he's moving all around, the shot's going to be much, much harder. So if someone comes up and asks a long question, most of the time he'll just sit there for a long period of time. And I do believe that when the person was asking the question, this person might have been signaling saying, okay, this is your time. If you're going to take the shot, take the shot. And maybe that's what that signal was. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the shooter, they came out with a picture of the shooter. They're saying that the person's college age. Well, I would think that if you're going to stage something like this, you don't want to have someone that's in his 50s or 60s because that person would look out of place, wouldn't they? You would want someone that was of college age so they would blend in. So no one would go, hey, what is this person doing here? It wouldn't make any sense. They did have one of those individuals in the audience. It was an older gentleman. And it seems that this individual, I think his name is George Zinn, this individual shows up at many rallies and he disrupts the rally. So maybe he was invited by these people set up because they needed some type of distraction so the shooter could get away. That is a possibility. Now, the weapon was found in the woods. They're saying it's a Mauser. It's a 30-06. And they're saying this is the weapon that is used. It has a scope on it. And this individual must have trained. If it wasn't this individual and somebody else, it might have been somebody else. We don't know. But let's just say it's this individual. This individual had to train with this weapon to hit the target at 142 yards because you're dealing with wind. You're dealing with humidity. You're dealing with a lot of things. So you just don't go into the gun store, attach a scope, and you're ready to go. And what's very interesting is that Mr. Guns and Gear is kind of confirming this. He says, reportedly, the rifle used to kill Charlie Kirk. If true, we can absolutely say all the folks assuming this was a professional are incorrect. No professional would set up a scope with magnification level with eye relief set like the Nor would a professional have their bolt-action hunting rifle. Was found wrapped in a towel inside a wooded area near the building where the shot which killed Kirk originated from, with the spent cartridge still inside the rifle, as well as 3 unspent rounds of 30-06 Springfield. All cartridges in the rifle were engraved with the wording expressing transgender and anti-fascist ideologies. So it's either that this rifle is planted there. That's not the original rifle. They just wanted people to find that rifle to leave the calling card that, hey, it's the trans people that did this. Because if you're going to start a civil war, you need to leave the calling card. And once again, maybe it is a professional, maybe it isn't professional. If it was a professional, they would clean up all the shelves in the nest area. I don't know if they found any shells there. They would take their weapon with them and they would have everything planned out where they could escape. So this is very, very interesting. So the picture came out of this individual, FBI, Salt Lake City, put it out. It's not the clearest picture, but it shows an individual in jeans, black shirt with a picture of an eagle and a flag. It says land of the free, home of the brave. It's like a $10 shirt. It's black and he has sunglasses on and a hat. So it's very difficult to really make this person out. So, but they do have this person and they're now looking for him. And Trump, he said that they're doing a virtual manhunt. What does that mean? That means a virtual manhunt refers to a pursuit of an individual conducted primarily through digital, online, or virtual means, rather than traditionally physically tracking. So they're hoping by putting this picture out, the people on social media will start to track down this people. And if anyone sees this person throughout the neighborhoods or anywhere else, they would actually call it in and say, okay, we found this person. So that's the virtual manhunt that he's talking about. And the question is, was this driven by the deep state players to try to bring us into a civil war? Well, I do believe it was, because just listen to Barack Obama's post on X. We don't know yet what motivated the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk. But this kind of despicable violence has no place in our democracy. Michelle and I will be praying for Charlie's family tonight, especially his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children. Now, what's very interesting about this is the first line. I think it's a very odd thing to say, especially at 5:26 p.m. on September 10th, right after the shooting. Who says we don't know what motivated the person? The first thing you say is our prayers and thoughts are with Charlie Kirk and his family. Why would you say that right off the bat? Unless he knows the motive and they want someone to find that weapon so they can start the Civil War. When you start to look at this, you have to remember, Obama, he's a snake oil salesman. And when he puts things out, he does it on purpose. And then think about this. The crowd was mostly conservative. They came out to see Charlie Kirk. I mean, if they were going to do a mass shooting, this would be the perfect opportunity. But that wasn't their intention. Their intention was to just take out Charlie Kirk. That was it. Because they wanted to set everything in motion. And they had to choose someone where they can, that's very popular, and use what he does to divide the people, divide the trans people with the conservatives. And remember, most of Antifa is trans. So are they all riled up? Are they pissed off? Absolutely. Are they trying to divide the people? Are they trying to start a civil war? I do believe so. Kyle Becker put this out and said, let me hammer something home. I'm sick and I'm tired of hearing people say, like Barack Obama did, like Hillary Clinton did, oh, we condemn this violence. Guess what? You can't call the president of the United States for 10 years Adolf Hitler, and you can't say that he's a fascist dictator, and you can't say that anyone who voted for Trump or advocated for him are Nazis. And then when someone tries to kill us, you can't suddenly say, oh, we condemn this violence. You caused it. When you tell people that someone is Hitler, you are telling crazy people, go kill them. Clay Travis has got this exactly right. You can't engage in nonstop character assassination without expecting there will be political assassination. Now, this is what they've done because they got to get their base riled up. They have to convince the people that we are extremists. We are the domestic terrorists. They have to convince the people that Trump is Hitler because otherwise, are these people going to do what you want them to do? Absolutely not. Now, you need to get the other side all pissed off against those same people that think we're Hitler. You see how they're pushing this? You see what they're trying to do here? Absolutely. Libs of TikTok says, I'm noticing a pattern with all the people celebrating Charlie's death. They all have pronouns in their bios every single time. The pronoun people are evil, satanic, death cultists. Yes, that is exactly what they are. William Wolf says, this gets even worse when you consider that Charlie Kirk, more than anyone else in America on the right or the left, built his platform making a good faith effort to model civil political discourse and debate in the public square. His entire project was built on reaching across the divide and using speech, not violence, to address and resolve the issue. Charlie was great at waking up the youth, which made him very dangerous. Charlie was deprogramming the college students. So you could see why, number one, he was a threat to everything the deep state was doing, and you could see why they chose him to try to divide the people on this, or at least Antifa and the conservatives. And like we said before, if the alleged shooter is trying to evade capture, why would he deliberately throw his gun, first of all, wrap it, then throw it into the woods? Why wouldn't he just leave it on the roof? So it's either the rifle is not the original rifle, and this was a professional shooter, and they left that rifle there to make it seem like it was a trans person and they weren't a professional. They might be trying to mislead everyone, but we'll have to see how this all plays out. But you could see there is definitely a pattern. Emerald Robinson put this out and said, they killed Shinzo Abe. They stabbed Bolsonaro. They tried to kill Trump twice. They shot Robert Fico. They killed Villavicencio. And 7 AFD candidates died in Germany before the elections. And now they assassinated Charlie Kirk. What are they doing? What are they trying to say? I think they're trying to say, listen, if anybody goes against us, we will take you out. And I do believe at this point in time, I do believe Obama, deep state players, I think they're trying to start a civil war. But again, they don't understand the American people. We don't burn, we don't loot, we don't kill, we don't do any of those things. And actually, out at Liberty College, students gathered to pray for Charlie Kirk's family. And they were holding hands, they were hugging each other, and they were all praying. C3 put this out and said, spot the difference. Charlie Kirk vigil versus George Floyd riot. We are not the same. And that is absolutely true. And this is what they want. They want the people to go to war. See, the deep state players, they understand physical violence. They don't want talk. They don't want debate. They don't want any of these things. They've been trying to push physical violence for a very long time. They want the war to go physical. If they can't get this to go physical, they'll take the next step. I do believe that is World War III. It's not going to happen. They're going to try to push it, but it's not going to work out the way they think it's going to work out. And you have to remember, and Walk a Fire put this out, Charlie wasn't a public official. Charlie wasn't a candidate for public office. Charlie wasn't a corporate executive supposedly personally responsible for any negative effects of corporate policies. Charlie wasn't a foreign diplomat or a staff to whom to blame for that foreign nation's policies. No, Charlie was an advocate for his faith and his political beliefs, as well as for open and cordial debate about both. This was a political assassination at its most basic core, not because someone was angry about a policy that Charlie had enacted, or that he was currently facilitating, or that he might in the future implement, but rather for no other reason than the public expression of his ideas. He was shot because of his discussions about his beliefs and for no other reason. And that should be a wake-up call for all of us, right, left. This will not end well. And I just want to go back to Trump's post that he put out on Truth yesterday. And within this post, this is where he says, the great and evil legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you. Now, he capitalized sympathies, which is very, very interesting. And if you look at some of the posts, like 3701 December 17th, it says, sleepers everywhere. 4476, down below it says D Party with an arrow, BLM race push. Insurrection, riots, city takeover, remove police, property destroy, assault, murder, release by D governor mayors, back to streets. End goal, then versus now, government control. So basically, I do believe that they're trying to do what they did during 2020. But this time around, they want the conservatives on the street. They tried to do it back then. It didn't work. Dan Scavino put this out at 11:32 Eastern Standard Time, and it says 9/10/2025, turning point. Ripcord says, wait a minute, the timestamp is 11:32. There's a post within a post, and this is post 3,776. And in this post, what does it say? The shot heard around the world. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, and I don't believe in coincidences. And we can see that this is definitely the shot heard around the world. Now, I do believe that this is going to start to bring a lot of people together. Yes, you're going to have the crazy left. They're going to try to push whatever they're pushing. You could see it right now. But I think it's going to bring a lot of other people together. Now, it's terrible that Charlie had to be assassinated for all of this. I mean, this is horrific. This is terrible for his family, for everything that is going on. I mean, there's no words for this at all. And I'm sure everyone is feeling the same exact way. You wake up in the morning and you say, is this real? Did this really just happen? Is this our country? And you have to remember, we're still battling an enemy that is so evil, that is so despicable, that they would kill us to push their agenda. You could see it during 9/11. You can see it with what happened out in Ukraine and in many other areas. You see it when they have the false flags with shootings in schools. You see it with Charlie Kirk. You see what they did in January 6th, where they're the ones who caused all this. They rather see us fighting each other, and they rather see us kill each other. In the end, these people that they're using, the trans people, most likely they'll be discarded later on. They don't need those people at all. But Trump, he announced that he is going to award Charlie Kirk a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom. And he should have received this when he was alive. This is just very, very sad. And we could see that the deep state players, they're trying to push us. But again, it's not going to work. Actually, what's going to happen is we, the people, are going to use so much information against them that they won't know what to do with it all. Now, I'm not saying that you don't protect yourself if these crazy people are coming after you. I think every single person should protect themselves, their families, and we should be prepared because, again, you have to remember these people that are saying we want the rest of the people to die, and I'm sure their list is very, very long. If you meet them on the streets, if they're anywhere around and they decide, hey, I hear you talking, or they hear you discussing certain things, they might flip out and they might come after you. So yes, do you have the right to defend yourself? Absolutely. Are we going to go around going after these people? No, that's not who we are. We follow the rule of law and we don't do what they do. We are stronger. We are better. And in the end, they will be held accountable, all of them. Now, the other thing that we could see out in other countries like France, Macron is in huge trouble right now. Graham Banks-Cole put this out and said, massive riots taking place in France as Macron weighs suspending social media. And it's getting worse and worse there. And he's thinking to himself, I might have to censor people because if I don't, they're going to remove me from office. This movement's going to spread deep and wide within France, and I'll be ousted. So what do deep state players do who are installed in these positions? They make sure that nobody can talk about it. They basically have a communication blackout. Now, it's not just going to be France. It's going to be many, many other countries that this is going to happen. I mean, think about what the EU is doing right now. The EU Council heads, they're going to vote on the so-called chat control law. Germany could prove the deciding factor. So basically, they want to shut down everyone that's having a chat. They want to eliminate encrypted messaging. They want the governments to know exactly what you're saying. So basically, you're not allowed to be private. You can't have freedom of speech. Again, they have privileges. They do not have rights in these countries. So basically, they're just stripping away your rights, which they're not rights, they're privileges, to actually speak freely and anonymously. See, in this country, you have that right. Our founding fathers did it. When the British were coming after them, they created pen names so they would hide their identity. They would still publish, but it would be under a different name. We see it today. We see people using pen names and they report on certain things. They might write in Substack. They might have a show, but a lot of people still do this. They're still following the founding fathers. But the supporting bloc needs more support to comprise 65% of the EU population and obtain a qualified majority. 6 countries remain undecided, and that is Estonia, Germany, Greece, Luxembourg, Romania, Slovenia. So Germany is necessary to sway the outcome of the EU Council vote. So once again, Germany at this point, since the AfD is being killed off, Germany most likely has the power to push this through. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. The other thing that's interesting is the terrorists, Hamas, they say the Doha attack will not change their stance on the Gaza ceasefire. So basically, like we said from the very, very beginning, you cannot negotiate with state-funded terrorists. Remember, this is all being driven by the deep state players, and you know that they're not going to give this up. They're going to fight to the very, very end. And like we said before, you cannot negotiate with terrorists. It's completely and utterly impossible. And as we know, today is September 11th, the day that the deep state players brought down the World Trade Center. And Trump, he is now at that site. I think after he's at that site, like we discussed yesterday, he'll be going to the Yankee game. But what's very interesting is that J.D. Vance decided not to attend the 9/11 memorial. And what's very interesting, you could see the fake news. I mean, they're truly the enemy of the people. They put out a headline, and this is coming from the Daily Beast, and this is what it says. J.D. Vance pulls out of 9/11 memorial at the last minute. No, what he decided to do is he decided to be with Charlie Kirk's family. He actually is allowing Air Force Two to take Charlie's body and the family back to Arizona. So he didn't just pull out. He decided that he wanted to be and assist with Charlie Kirk's family. That is very, very different. But you can see the deep state players, they are now in a war stance. They are now going to be pushing against we the people, because you could see the evidence now is coming out. The Epstein information will be coming out. And we're learning, I think, well, we know the people that have been going down the rabbit holes, follow Q, follow social media. Most of us know that these people are treasonous. I'm talking about the rest of the country. And you know a lot of the friends and the family members and things like that really don't follow along, but they hear about it. These people are starting to learn who these people are, how they actually committed these treasonous acts, and they're starting to digest this information. And they know if this goes any further, the deep state players, they know they're screwed. So just like any other criminal, what they're going to do is they're going to fight back. They're going to fight back with everything they have. And the first thing they're trying to do is, I do believe they're trying to, first of all, shut down free speech. As we can see, they don't want Charlie Kirk or anyone else discussing this. But does that really stop anyone? No. If you remove one person, 100 more show up. And if you remove another, 1,000. I do believe this is what Charlie Kirk said. So this is not going to stop we the people. I think they know this. That's why I think they're trying to push the Civil War. This is why they're trying to pit the conservatives against the trans movement. And yes, the trans movement has the illegals. The trans movement has the criminals on the streets. And we saw this during Black Lives Matter. And we saw what Kyle Rittenhouse had to go up against. I mean, there were pedophiles chasing after him, and he had a weapon. He was able to defend himself. And after he defended himself, what happened? They still came after him. They're trying to create this entire scenario where they can try to push a civil war. And we're going to have to see how this all plays out. But it looks like they've already dropped these breadcrumbs to try to push it, and push it very, very hard. And they know the trans people, they're unstable. We know that they've been involved in many mass shootings. We also know when they lose the debate, they resort to violence. So that's already set up. They're just trying to get the conservatives very, very angry so they can clash with the trans people and many other people. But I don't believe the conservatives, the Americans, are going to fall for this. And when this doesn't happen, the deep state players, they will move to the next level. And they'll keep pushing and pushing and pushing until they get the riots they need in this country. And I do believe bring us to a physical war. But I do believe Trump and the Patriots, they're prepared and they're ready for this, and they understand what they're planning to do. And once again, our condolences, our prayers go out to the Kirk family. This is a terrible, terrible thing. Should have never happened. And he was an incredible person that went head on with the deep state players. And he started to wake a lot of people up. And you could see the deep state players, they started to panic. And they're going to continue to panic because we're not going to stop until they're all in jail, until we get those people that are responsible for all the pain they have caused, not just the Kirk family, but families in this country and around the world. There will be justice. There will be accountability. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.